Going live now.
See who's first in a finite times number one. Got someone tuning in from the States. What time is it where you are, Nathan? About 5 o'clock or something?
Oh no, it's 1:30, early afternoon.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Yeah.
So 4:30 in New York time.
Yeah. Jamie, where are you? What state in the United States are you tuning in from? Sounds good. Video's good. Awesome. Love to see it. Be nice if we could make the screen a bit bigger, Ben. I'm not sure if that's possible, but it's still decent.
Tried to make it a bit bigger, but I couldn't.
Yeah. All right.
Just have to run with that for this one.
Cool. Man, they've already spotted your Bored Ape Yacht Club shirt, Nathan.
Yay. Always buy two. If you're ever buying an NFT piece of physical merchandise, buy two of them, because the second you wash them, they're done.
I definitely want to touch on your rule of three. Or not your rule of three, but the rule of three that you told me about that you saw from someone else. That is probably one of the sagest pieces of advice I would give anyone.
And it's always hard to follow because you're increasing your invested capital amount by 3.
Yeah. We can touch on that. How are you seeing the market just anyway in general at the moment, Nathan? Like, I think 20th of January, like OpenSea is already at a record high for monthly volume. And that's with LooksRare sucking out a lot of liquidity. Like, so do you think things are getting parabolic, like a bit hypey, or?
I do, because I thought at the end of 2020, everyone was kind of just waiting for a break. And I think a lot of crypto and NFTs in particular took that like Christmas holiday break off, which was nice. And then the second that the LooksRare token kind of airdropped, kicked kind of everyone back into gear.
Yeah.
It kind of really kickstarted 2022 NFTs. And the reaction to LooksRare has been awesome. People last year were, harassing OpenSea and wanting an emerging player to come in and challenge them, and LooksRare seems to fit the bill. And additionally, the functionality is pretty decent, probably not as good as OpenSea, that's fine. But the mechanism of simply airdropping tokens related to specific collections that people trade, that's very interesting. And then just the staking of your tokens and you being a owner of a marketplace, which are foundational to crypto. It's just a very interesting change in business model. And it's nice to be able to compare OpenSea and LooksRare so closely to one another.
Yeah, 100%. I think if anyone did want to get more of a recap of LooksRare, there's Armin did his first ever video on our YouTube channel, or his first ever video for us on the YouTube channel last week, and Nathan also did a post last week as well. I think just before we get into it, Nathan, I did see a bit of an Easter egg of some potential alpha, which I did drop in my video last night, to do with OpenSea's plans for the future, because they just acquired Dharma, and the founder of Dharma basically really hinted at he really is wanting OpenSea to become a lot more utilized in just the nature, like decentralized technologies. And then the CIO or whatever, he was the one who really got slammed recently when he came in and said how he's excited to take it public or not. Yeah, he kind of misspoke, but he actually kind of backed up this new this Dharma founder's point, which I think is the strongest ever hint or suggestion that OpenSea will be launching a token that I've ever seen to date. And
Yep.
interesting that it's come a couple of weeks after Looks Rare has launched.
Yep. It's so interesting that OpenSea's now acquired like an onboarding service provider, and Coinbase on the other side is now launching a market. So those two have kind of thrown missiles at each other, and they're both trying to say, "Hey, take your assets from your bank and flow them through our platform straight to our marketplace,
Yeah.
and don't go to Coinbase anymore because you have Dharma, and don't go to OpenSea anymore because you have Coinbase NFT marketplace." So
Yeah.
it looks like those two are now direct competitors.
Yeah, 100%. And then I don't know, FTX, Binance, all ramping things up in terms of NFTs. So yeah, big year ahead it seems. But yeah, okay. Thank you everyone for tuning in to what is our first workshop here at Collective Shift. We got called a workshop slash Q&A. Just trying something different as opposed to our monthly Q&As that I've been doing towards the end of last year. So what better way to kick things off? I think the first one for this year with, just an overview of NFT investing. I think some of you might have just heard us talking about, it's kind of definitely come back into the forefront, or it never really left, to be honest. And we're now seeing record volumes to start off 2022, which is, kind of surprised many people. So yeah, I thought, I would have a chat with Nathan today. He's our in the research team. He's the one that does focus on NFTs the most out of as compared to someone like Kinji, who's more DeFi, and Nick, who's someone more focuses on the gaming and metaverse side of things. So yeah, really excited today to talk about all things NFT investing. We'll start things off with some different styles of NFT investing. And then we'll get into a bit of what Nathan does when he's researching potential NFTs to invest in, and I'll chime in as well with some of my approaches, and then we might just do a quick overview of the who's who, or the what's what, maybe in terms of just NFT tools and the most common marketplaces, and then obviously answering the live questions as well. So there were some ones that were already sent in as well, which we'll try to get to some of those as well. But if you could really continue to just comment with questions you do have in the live chat on YouTube, that'd be much appreciated, and we can get to those towards the end of this session. So just wanted to kick things off. Nathan, essentially, when I look at the NFT investing space, it's so broad, which is, it's grown up so much in the past 12 months or whatever to have so many different categories. I think just to quickly give an overview of the categories for people who aren't familiar with the NFT space now, I think there's about 9 categories if you're using OpenSea's homepage as a kind of leading indicator there. And in these categories, there is increasingly several subcategories, popping up. So it's really coming to the point now where different styles of NFT investing are emerging. And I think we'll start off with that, Nathan, of just talking about the different ways or styles that you can invest into this NFT space.
Yeah, certainly. Kind of from a macro view, it's becoming increasingly more thematic and industry specific. Kind of at the beginning of 2022, it was really just kind of generative artwork and avatars that people were putting out from February all the way through to July. But now we're seeing far more diversification into music, fashion, photography, sports, esports, a lot of metaverse assets, membership tokens, and access you tokens. I think that'd be under utility per OpenSea. So that's coming out from and then what blockchain it's on as well. There are some investors who are blockchain specific. I think Tezos has been pretty impressive of building, and Solana have been pretty impressive with building an NFT out of Ethereum. And then if we talk about type of investors, if we look along the whole life cycle of going through creating, minting, and then getting into secondary markets of NFT collections, you do have your minters, the people that go after the very initial mint. They want to be there and mint it for 0.08 or 0.1. 0.08 is our kind of standard minting price in the NFT industry. And I think
Yeah.
that's based off of like Bored Ape Yacht Club and a bunch of other collections that have been issued. So you do have those minters, and if you are a minter type investor, you pretty much are guaranteed future airdrops, because we're talking collection NFT investing here specifically. If you do purchase one of the initial collections, you will typically be rewarded with access or an airdrop to additional items in the collection that's building out that specific metaverse. Moving on past your minters, you got your secondary market buyers who want to see the actual reveal of the assets before they invest.
Just
So
very quickly. Oh, sorry to cut you
yeah,
off, Nathan. Before we lose the audience, minting. We should probably just define that for people who are a bit new to the NFT space. Minting, it's kind of a weird word because it's all virtual, but it's essentially just the release, isn't it? It's the release of a collection. So what Nathan was saying about people who are kind of minting based NFT investors, they will do their research on a collection that is about to launch, and they are there right at day one from when it launches, for which has its pros of that Nathan just described of having a lot of value in terms of getting airdrops and things like that. But thought I'd just jump in there. Sorry, Nathan.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
certainly we are minting ERC 721 tokens, which are non-fungible tokens, as compared to DeFi, where DeFi are minting ERC 20 tokens. So it's the same functionality in terms of DeFi and NFTs, just a different token standard. And then, of course, the one other benefits before we move on from minters is the ability to mint a rare NFT. People have often used the metaphor of opening trading card packs, and you really don't know if you could have like the rarest card in your pack compared to everybody else's. So you do have that opportunity for exponential gains from minting an ultra rare NFT. So there is that bit of excitement. Then you kind of move on to the secondary market buyers, like I was mentioning, who want to see the reveal of the NFT collection, see how the market reacts, get a bit of a price equilibrium, and then invest, which is totally fine as well. Often longer term buyers, because then you've know a bit more about the collection. You can attach yourself emotionally to certain attributes, to certain types of NFTs within that collection. And I've certainly done that as well. Then you've got, like I mentioned, industry-specific thematic buyers. You've got your NFT collection-specific buyers, some people that just want to amass 5 or 10 in the same collection. Blockchain-specific buyers, and I think you were mentioning a great one was post-reveal snipers. And those are the people that are within the NFT community. We're already building a lot of analytics tools that pretty much haven't been created because the NFT industry's, from a mainstream standpoint, it's really only like 9 to 12 months old. So a lot of the early engineers in the NFT industry are just building simple tools for us to track NFT floors, track average price, track attribute floors, so things like that. And there are those post-reveal snipers who will go through the metadata and try to find the 98th rarity piece in a collection that's valued at the 50th percentile. So, and they're trying to capture that asymmetric knowledge of knowing more about the metadata. And
Yeah.
let me define metadata.
Yeah.
For any of these NFTs that are being created, oftentimes they're images, just like this Australian Open one. At the end of the day, these are tennis balls, digital images, 3D or 2D, and each of these will have attributes. And then the developers will input a certain amount of attributes. There they are on OpenSea. They call them properties. So there will be only a certain number of ball types and plots and coordination, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty good rundown of all the different types of kind of styles of NFT investors out there. I'm sure there's plenty more out there, but
Yeah.
there's a few.
To give you a really recent example, I was here Sunday Australian time when these art balls revealed. So what you'll typically see, there's NFTs you can buy pre-reveal, so they will all look exactly the same. So all of these art balls on Saturday looked exactly the same, and then on Sunday there was a reveal. The reveal happened at about midday, and you could see what they all looked like on the Australian Open Metaverse website. So you could actually physically look for the most rare ones by scrolling through the courts, the virtual court that they had. And I saw people on OpenSea, because they all still look the same and the metadata hadn't refreshed. I saw people that were finding the rarest ones, and they were bidding like 1 ETH or 2 ETH on these like what looked like exactly the same art balls on OpenSea, but
Hmm.
they had that advanced knowledge from the mint, from the reveal, where they were trying to get in there and to snipe them like extremely quickly. So again, probably not really a beginner type of investing style, but it's one that I'm increasingly seeing every week get a lot more, I guess, prominent and yeah, really common because of what you saw with what you said with the tooling and the different data platforms that are available to NFT investors.
Hmm. A lot of them are custom built or they're built into Discord communities themselves.
Mm, mm.
That's a wonderful and scary bid to get, kind of a pre-reveal bid of like, a considerable amount of money, thousands of dollars. But then you kind of know that they know you, they might know something you don't.
Yeah, 100%. Happened yesterday with Rug Radio as well. um, but yeah, so I think just quickly, if people did want to know a lot more about these NFT tools, I think we do have what is one of my favorite resources on the platform at the moment is the this comprehensive list of crypto analytics tools that we have. We update this quite frequently, particularly the NFT section. So we have it here. We probably need to work a bit on our categories, but these are only used to be about 4 or 5. There are only about 4 or 5 dot points here, and over the past 12 months, it's just grown and grown and grown. So for anyone, these are free to access this resource if you did want to check it out.
Yeah, we'll have to
But
break that down into
yeah,
industry specific because it's kind of a given for us that NFTs are going to like proliferate themselves into all the different industries of fashion, music, video, writing. So my assumption is there'll be analytics and tools that are industry specific as well.
yeah, 100%. Alrighty, just next, Nathan, we'll get into okay, cool. We've got different themes and styles of NFT investing, all these different hypothetical groups that you could identify as. But when it comes to yourself personally, do you even identify as any of those styles you just talked about, or are you a blend of each? And if so, what kind of approach is that?
Primarily, probably I'm a minter. I do like to get beforehand. I'm willing to take the risk of the artwork being poor. And then also I lean over to an early secondary market buyer. Um, and then really I treat NFT collections as much as I can, just like analyzing a startup in terms of looking at the founder, looking at the team, the technical capabilities. Do they have a diversified team where in the past, like not all DeFi startups needed an art director or a designer
Mm,
or a 3D modeler, where
mm,
that's an intricate position now in an NFT business. So do they have that right mix of, smart contract writer, designer, artist? Big thing, hard thing is if they're anonymous or public. It's always
mm,
easier if they're doxed, which means they're public people on the internet. Um, Obviously, the artwork and the just the image and the is it aesthetically pleasing to me and represent my values. Where if you're an investor, like a true or pure investor, aesthetics probably shouldn't matter too much outside of trying to get a higher resale price. But I've definitely fallen into the trap in 2021 of being aesthetically pleased with a collection and then holding on.
yeah.
When it comes to roadmaps are the white papers of NFT collections of the NFT industry. I just pretty much scroll right to the longest term item on the roadmap and say, what are you doing once you've sold out, once you've fulfilled all your goals? A typical startup will have their initial goal, which will be their beachhead. Then they'll land, and then they'll do land and expand into bigger visions, into multiple revenue verticals, and kind of just use their initial vision to break into a larger vision. So I'm looking for what that larger vision is with the NFT collections that we see released, even one of one collections. It's
Mm,
just the artist kind of initially dabbling in the
mm,
metaverse and kind of just getting their feet wet. Adidas, Nike,
mm,
some Fortune 500s, they're all releasing these collections, in my opinion, is just kind of their first little getting their toes wet in the industry. And that's fine for artists to do as well, to kind of say, this
mm.
is the type of artist I am. Here's my first collection and come along with it, with the journey of me as I build in the digital economy and in their metaverse. So that's what I'm really looking for is what's that long-term vision? Are you here for the long run? And that's hard to do now as an artist. You're like, am I going to commit 10 years to this collection? But just having the vision, having the authenticity to put that down, like you would typically see in a startup. You want to see that chance of exponential growth based on unique valuation propositions. I don't mind derivative and crossover collections as long as they're trying to add unique items to that NFT collection. So if you've got a unique differentiator, where we've seen things with like Wolfgang, and they're adding play to earn functionality to your generative NFTs. That kind of stuff's awesome. So that was a lot, but I look at the whole project, or I try to look at the whole project in totality.
I think, yeah, I think ultimately, like at the end of the day, like if I was just talking to a mate or family member or something about, what would I suggest to them if they were investing in NFTs? I think you've nailed it in terms of it. Just treat it as if you're researching to invest in a startup or researching to invest even in a cryptocurrency. Really, at the end of the day,
Yep.
like whether you're investing in a low cap market, a low cap crypto like token or asset, it's what do? You go to the website, you read through their docs. What are they actually planning to do? What's their value proposition? Who is building this? Have they got runs on the board? Do they have a good reputation in the industry? To know that, you need to go to their Twitter. You need to see if they're participating in conferences. It's
And then
much the same thing with NFTs, really.
it really is. It's early stage venture capital type investing, and probably the thing that I didn't touch on was why. You could be like, great, this all sounds good of how to analyze them, but why am I buying an on-chain NFT? What does it matter to own something on the blockchain, trustlessly and immutably?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of those keywords answer my question of the composability of tokens for me. I think we're going to learn a lot about that. The composability of ERC 721s. Blipmap is a great example of that, where you own equity in a media brand, and a lot of NFT collections are being media brands. No one really builds on top of that equity. But if you're a token owner that represents equity in an NFT collection, you can have third-party community members outside of the core team build derivatives and initiatives around the core product. And Blipmap's probably one of the best examples of, we've probably got 10 or 20 different derivatives and initiatives that people are building just for fun, based off the original collection. Still not answering the question of why. Why are we buying on-chain NFTs? And in my opinion, these are the initial fully digital assets that are meaningful, they're immutable, they're sitting on large public databases where virtual worlds and metaverses, however you want to classify that, are being built on top of them. And I believe investing in on-chain NFTs right now is an investment in the digital economy of the future, so that you can be, I guess, an early adopter or an innovator in your niche. And we've mentioned that NFTs are getting more industry specific, so probably a call to action to stay true to your niche and your expertise. I really struggled with abstract generative art back when art blocks was blowing up, because I'm not an artist. I have no idea what art looks good and what doesn't. So just a small example there, but hopefully that answers a little bit of the why. This is one of my favorite pages. I'm increasingly being obsessed with fully on-chain NFTs. It's a bit of a game with how much smart contract developers, how much media and data can they store fully on chain, and then through that little game, you kind of see progressions in blockchain capabilities, which is fun.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's key, right? It's like why, like what is the point of investing in this NFT? And that the answer to that question is so different depending on what theme you're talking about. So on-chain NFTs, totally different to if I'm investing in a music NFT. And it's like, why am I doing that? Well, it's because mainly it's almost an investment in the artists themselves
That
and
too.
their vision for their career, and to basically be an early supporter of them because you like their music. And NFTs are just a lot more direct way to be basically almost like a patron. Not patron's the wrong word, but I'm blanking on the name. But basically, yeah, just supporting them and then being rewarded for it.
It's far more intimate with the creators these days, where
Yeah,
you can find their wallet address oftentimes if you wanted to send them a donation, which doesn't
yeah,
happen too often.
yeah,
But
yeah,
and then you can find them on Discord as well. You can go and find them within communities and actually reach out to them. There's less middlemen involved.
yeah.
So I feel like it makes that a little bit easier to interact and easier to support artists these days.
Yeah, 100%. I think back to bring it back a bit to investing itself in NFTs. I think me and you kind of differ a bit on our strategies. I think you did talk a bit about how you're more of a pre-mint NFT investor.
Yes, where do you sit?
I tend to be more of the post-mint, and I think it's more to do with, I guess, how much time I have, and I kind of see the pre-mint as needing a lot of upfront research, but you could argue that for the post-mint. But I'll tell you why I'm much more personally in favor, and I spend a lot more time investing in post-mint NFTs, which, just to dumb it down, what does that mean? It means I tend to buy most of my NFTs on secondary markets like OpenSea, which is basically Ethereum's secondary market. So yeah, why do I do that? It's because it's particularly with the NFT market getting so much bigger today, it's like as big as it's ever been. I think there's so many more ways that NFTs that are about to mint can really disguise how popular they actually are. There's a lot of promotional activity going on. There's a lot of campaigns to really get, what's quote unquote, brand awareness or following. But after they mint, what's really happening here is like people trying to get on what's called a whitelist. And a whitelist is really access to be eligible to be able to mint an NFT because there's so much demand for it, right? So collections are almost exploiting is too strong of a word because it's definitely not the case in every collection. But once these projects and collections do mint, I think a lot of the time there is just like a real hype or over representation of actually how much people really care about this project. So that's why I spend a lot of my time buying on secondary markets, because I think that, 1 to 3 weeks post mint, I think is probably, like, in my opinion, like the most crucial time in an NFT collection's life, because that's when you get all the information and it really becomes a lot more obvious about, is there anything unique about this project? Does the community legitimately care? And I think that it just speaks volumes to myself. And, I've had some success like in doing that, and I think I'm going to double down on that approach in 2022. But I definitely can appreciate the pre-mint strategy, because for the people who mint at the start of an NFT collection and hold it for the long term, if they do nail the project, they can be handsomely rewarded for being there right at day dot, which I am not in most cases.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. And it seems like you're taking advantage of the crypto J curve, which exists just as much for ERC 721s as it does for ERC 20s. We document the crypto J curve, which is an initial pump and then a moment of equilibrium before it, breaks into new all-time highs again. We've seen that all throughout meme coins,
DeFi.
altcoins, DeFi coins. So it seems like the same. I've noticed it a bit too for NFT collections as well. Is you need to meet that initial demand pump, whether that happens post or pre-reveal is different for every collection. But then afterwards, you do have a period where kind of the community susses out if the founders are legit, if the community is legit, and if this is a long-term thing.
Yeah, that's it. Well said. Keep putting those questions in, by the way, on the live chat, and we'll get to them. We'll get to them soon. Seeing some there, which is good. So yeah, keep putting them in for those of you watching. I think just on a day-to-day, Nathan, for an NFT investor or someone who wants to start investing in NFTs, could you just maybe like probably out of this list, really, what are some that you really find yourself using typically every day?
Yeah, I'm still an OpenSea user when it comes to actually searching for projects.
Yeah.
So I'll use OpenSea for even going through metadata in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen for a typical NFT.
Yeah.
Um, and then I'll use WGMI, we're going to make it.io,
Yeah.
to track the NFT portfolio, and then also price changes. I think for the last 30 days, they do day, 7 days, and 30-day floor changes.
Mm.
They've got a little premium website as well that analyzes your NFT portfolio and then breaks it down by attribute for each of your NFTs, which is nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crypto Slam is a big one that I'll go to just for market overview.
Mm.
That's based on portfolio and platform trading volume, and then also looking at the highest volume trades in the last, say, 24 hours.
Yeah.
So on the left-hand side, it outlines all the different collections. Typically Axie Infinity's leading the way, but wow, Meebits. Oh yeah, looks rare. Unfortunately, if you go down to the bottom right-hand corner, the other place
Mm.
that I look on Crypto Slam, if you
This.
scroll down a bit, is the top NFT collectible sales of the day. But unfortunately, this ranking has now been ruined by looks rare
Uh,
and the wash trading that's going on.
yeah. Did um did you just want to quickly even just talk on this? Like I guess like the longevity. Do you see looks rare being a viable alternative for the medium to long term?
I do as from a medium to a long-term standpoint, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
For those
I
of you
think
unaware,
it's
it's basically a new competitor to OpenSea.
Yeah, I want to
Yeah.
even still say it has first mover advantage. I know that OpenSea obviously has the first mover advantage, but Looksrare has the first, decentralized NFT marketplace advantage. We were all crying out for this marketplace to release, or this type of marketplace to release in
Mm,
2021, and now it's here. So,
mm,
and it seems like people are making good money on the Looks token. Crypto Twitter seems to be very, very positive about it.
mm.
No one seems to really care about the wash trading too much.
Yeah.
Or they'll just think that it goes away. But I think the airdrop was really successful in my eyes.
It
Like
was, yeah.
a good airdrop is like the typical user, if you like got the minimum, would typically get like 750 to $1,200 is my kind of sweet spot from all these airdrops that I've been seeing.
Yeah.
Then you have the opportunity for that initial airdrop to say, go up to 3 grand, go up to 5 grand, or Uniswap go up to 10. Or then it obviously has the opportunity that $700 to go down to zero. But LooksRare seems to hit the bill with rewarding people with over $500, and then it's grown.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it did pass $6 for the first time just before the looks token, just before this call, actually. Which I know Arman would be happy with. I think he's in the chat down there. Um, One other thing I was going to touch on was probably if I was to introduce someone to NFT investing and to kind of give them some I think let's talk a bit about red flags now. I think it's going to be again very similar to startups when you're analyzing the team. If the team's very inexperienced or the team is only a couple of people, that could be a red flag. I'll let you think of some red flags for a moment, Nathan, while I get into just some things that I look out for on OpenSea when I am analyzing, a prospective NFT investment. I think
Haven't the Covens been doing well?
they have. I think they really have in the last 3 weeks or so. Okay, the two biggest things I look for on OpenSea and I think this is getting a bit more popular now, but I think it's important to know for a complete newcomer is the distribution of supply is imperative. In my opinion, it's a real reflection on, I guess, the overall vibe of a collection. So what do I mean by that? Crypto Coven at the moment has 4,700 owners out of the whole collection is 9,800 NFTs. So, a bit under 50%. You could call that distribution, which is, that's decent. I think
What's your
there's
benchmark?
my benchmark. I would like it to be above 50. But I'm still, it kind of depends how early the NFT is, right, as well. So, if you look at something like Fatalis, which I covered in a member video just the other day, that's still got a lot of people who have multiple NFTs, and as an NFT investor, I don't like a percentage that is like 39%, because why don't I like that? It's because there's a lot of people who have now lots of fatalas who, if this price starts to rise, like they are very, very likely to put their lists there, just say they got 10 of these things, they might put another 5 up for sale because they're wanting to offload them. So that's something that you really, really have to look out for. And it's incredibly common to see people when it's at the minting stage. You'll see people mint like the maximum that they can. And typically there'll be a really high concentration like when an NFT project's like launches. And you'll eventually start to see that supply ideally get a lot more distributed with time. So that's number one of what I look for in OpenSea. And then the second of the two things that I look for are I click on to buy now. And again, I just do a quick calculation of the percentage that are listed of the whole collection. So Fatalis again here, so 10,000 of those 10,000, 2,647 are listed for sale. Again, that's a bit too high in my opinion. I did explain why I did invest in this project a couple of days ago, just because I think it has been a bit misunderstood by the market. But if ignoring that, I wouldn't invest in this project at the moment, because there is too much, it really sends off a bad signal that this project really doesn't have a lot of strong community support. What I really like is about 10 to 15% of the supply being listed. Why is that a good thing? It just represents that everyone who owns that NFT in the collection really isn't caring that much about price, and they're more holding the NFT because they actually are aligned with the values of the NFT collection, and they're really there to support and to help the project grow. So I think those two, the percentage of owners and the percentage of buy now. I think owners, I look for about 50% ideally, sometimes a bit less. And then buy now, like ideally, is about 10%. Sometimes I'll accept 15 or so. But yeah, those are just two things. Was there anything, Nathan, on OpenSea, or anything you want to add to that on OpenSea that you look for?
Not on OpenSea. I don't think those are probably the two big NFT specific metrics. I certainly look at the activity tab. Unfortunately, the activity tab gives you the average price. So that can get
Yes.
skewed by extremely rare purchases, which is really common.
Yeah.
Your
Spot on.
top 1 to 5% of the collection are typically worth exponentially more than the other 99 to 95% of the collections.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. All right. And then yeah, was there any kind of just other general anything tips or whatever you look for when you're just kind
Yeah,
of inspecting?
we've been talking about what we were looking for, and then you mentioned kind of any red flags. So I was
Yeah,
just thinking
red
about some
flags.
red
Yeah.
flags as we go through them. And for myself, it's anonymous founders, a lack of information on the founders. No, and sometimes that's not a really bad thing. But then if you don't have information on the founders, it's the job to look into the community and what are the community's missions, values, and ethics.
Yeah.
Do they align with yours? And then do they speak highly of the anonymous founder, the kind of the core community members? No innovation on the roadmap. That's a big no-no for me. Just do something unique.
Yeah.
Excessive giveaways. I'm increasingly not liking giveaways when they're not in good faith or done sophisticatedly. Aggressive marketing.
Yes. Yes.
That's a pretty big one for a lot of people. Bad designer or bad aesthetics or just bad quality, which is
Yeah.
more of a personal thing. Probably one of the harder things to analyze.
Yeah.
Already mentioned lack of a mission, lack of values and ethics. I kind of alluded earlier to looking at the longest item on an NFT collection in's roadmap. So I want to know what their longest term vision is, and that can kind of give me an insight into their mission, their values. And then a big one is lack of organic community growth. Honestly, I want people to be cultish. Like cults get a bad rap.
Yeah.
I want people to be cultish about this NFT collection. I want them to wear merchandise, and to go out and be proud to just be a part of a community that has this type of mission or this value. So if there's no cult being formed around it, then it's a little worrying of like, how are they going to graduate to phase 2, 3, 4 of their little
Yeah.
metaverse they're building?
Spot on. And I love picturing in my head what happens in crypto winter. What happens to this project when the floor price halves or goes down further? And if there's a lack of engagement in a community at this stage of the market, it's like, oh my goodness, like this is not good because they're just going to like wither away and like very quickly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I'm noticing it's a lot of the collections of what are you doing outside of Discord. Discord
Yes.
is like the de facto place for DeFi protocols, DAOs, decentralized communities, NFT collections to all go and organize and congregate. It's the easiest tool in the world at the moment, currently. But it's kind of having its moment in the sun, and you'll see the good collections. What do they create outside of Discord? And if there's not much, if they're not doing in real life, if they're not having their own custom Web3 application, then that's the kind of stuff where it's like no organic communities being built and not much is going on.
All right, we got some good questions here. I think the first one here that I've seen is like, I thought we got a question here from Mohammed. I thought all NFTs were on-chain NFTs. That was his question. Or aren't all NFTs on-chain NFTs?
Yeah, I think I can give a non-technical answer,
Yep.
but we were alluding to fully on-chain NFTs versus, I guess, not
Partially. Yeah.
partially on-chain. If you go down to the bottom, this webpage actually has a nice little 3-star ranking of what it means. And if an NFT is not fully on-chain, it just means the metadata is being stored using a decentralized storage provider like IPFS, Arweave, or Filecoin. Where if we're going fully on-chain, like that Notion page is showing all
here
of
we
those
go.
projects,
Yeah.
you're actually literally storing the metadata of say a cool cat, and you're storing the different types of fur color, or I guess that's a bad example for blue, but you know what I mean. Different types of fur color. You're storing that metadata directly on chain as well. So then other applications can actually call that metadata that's stored on chain.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, it is a good summary here by Dom, one of probably the leading individuals when it comes to on-chain NFTs.
So yes, data stored via S store, renderer built into the contract, and then outputs SVG or similar data URI, which
Yeah.
still understanding all that.
Yeah. I got one here for thank you for everyone who did submit questions beforehand as well. Yeah, we did get quite a few, so we tried to condense them. And I think this one was more for me. What do you think makes a good NFT, a good music NFT, and what types of music NFTs do you think will be valuable in the future? So as you may have seen me say recently in a video, I was basically in isolation all of my annual leave. So over New Year's and stuff, I was basically just home alone. And I went really deep into music NFTs and came out pretty bullish that I think they're going to have a big 2022, and they're already starting to see like immediate, like instant sellouts when there is a launch on, sound.xyz or Mint Song. So in terms of what I think makes a good music NFT, I think for like the first rule above anything is you have to connect with the music, right? You have to actually have to be like a supporter and actually, I guess, vibe with the music and the artist. I think a lot of the value prop at the moment with music NFTs is it's almost a proxy investment in the upside of that artist. That's at least at the moment in this kind of primitive stage of music NFTs. And then I think just if you want exposure to, I guess, the success of music NFTs, it would be, possibly like investing in the audio token, like so Audius's NFT music platform. I would definitely encourage you to be using all these music NFT platforms because they're very likely. That's what I've been doing anyway. It's that very likely to be, releasing a token in the future, and they will almost certainly retrospectively or retroactively airdrop their token to their earliest users. So over the New Year's, I was using, as I see here, I was using like Catalog a lot. Like I brought some music NFTs off Catalog. And then I think on sound.xyz, I brought an NFT from an artist. It was actually Matthew Chain. And these are listed on OpenSea, right? So I actually brought it off OpenSea, but now I'm included in, I've basically kicked out the, whoever was owning it, and now I'm in the crowd.
Nice.
So, and then I think, yeah, and I've done that because I actually really like Matthew Chain's music, but now I'm covering myself for when I think sound.xyz does a token in the future. I think also I've been personally contributing to a lot of mirror campaigns. So that's mirror.xyz. A lot of musicians are running basically crowd funds, for lack of a better term, on Mirror, and you can basically contribute. You get an NFT back, and then they have all these plans, more like just a normal NFT project has all these plans to how they're going to basically help accrue value to the token holders that contribute to their Mirror campaigns. So I'm going to be doing a post on this tomorrow for members in terms of just an overview of music NFTs, how I'm playing it. But yeah, I think I was chatting to Nathan just last week, and Glass Protocol is another one I would be keeping an eye out for because last week they released a new mechanism that is really going to change the game, I reckon, with music NFTs specifically, and any NFTs that are tied to creatives, so photographers, things like that, where I won't really get into the weeds of it just due to time, and we'll get back to some more questions soon. But I think a big weakness of music NFTs to date has been it hasn't been super clear how you are going to be able to capture the financial upside as an NFT investor. I still think you will be able to, but I think this new model that they've released in terms of, it's called Prism, and it's basically on a bonding curve, and it's a constant NFT that will always be able to be bought and sold. Again, I won't go into the details here, but I will be referencing this in my video for members on Friday, because I think this is definitely one to watch in terms of, I think, understanding the model that's changing of how to get financial exposure to these artists and creatives. This was actually basically their test case of it. But yeah, I'll get into more details later.
The Uni NFTs is a strong TLDR.
Yeah, nice one. The Uniswap of NFTs. Nice. Alrighty, just going through some questions here. How do we know when the project has launched? How do we know when a project has launched? They say never to experiment when you're live, but I'm just going to try it now. Let's just see. I'm going to look up when Cool Cats launched. I'm going to go. How do you know when a project has launched? Like, personally, this is what I would do. I would just use Twitter, and I'd go to like Cool Cats. If I was researching and I wanted to see like when they launched, 100 ETH volume a day after launch, they did that on July 3rd. So now I know Cool Cats launched on July 2. That's what I'd personally do. I don't know. Some like it's just I guess there's what I'm saying is there's no real uniform database, at least that I'm aware of, Nathan, that kind of has information on when everything
Tip,
launched, or does
typic,
OpenSea?
typically, the announcements channel of a project's given Discord will be like the source of truth for everything from the core team.
Yeah, yeah. Well
So
said.
it's really, unfortunately, it's like actually clicking into the Discord and going through the captcha and then clicking the announcements channel and just quickly reading through that. And then that's like the most official stuff. And then
Yeah,
sometimes the collections will tell you on Twitter, sometimes they won't. And sometimes they'll tell you on the website, and sometimes they won't.
yeah. I think going into their contracts as well would probably be a decent approach for that as well onto Etherscan. But
And that doesn't answer the question of finding the project, which is probably a discussion for another day.
yeah, yeah. How do you actually discover all of these projects? Which I think you were saying Icy Tools is a good one that you use.
Yep, IC Tools, Nifty River is another good free tool. There's quite a few analytics tools, or not quite a few. There's a few analytics tools that are tracking the mints on Ethereum. So they're just pretty much seeing every ERC 721 that's getting minted, and then tracking the ones that get a decent amount of volume based on certain metrics.
Yeah, nice. I think. Oh, I went through my three undervalued NFTs that I see at the moment. Is there any NFTs you're kind of looking to invest in, Nathan, as it stands at the moment?
Ooh. Um,
Or
this week I've been increasingly looking at Forgotten Runes Wizard Cult, but they're a little overvalued at the moment. But I really like what they're doing with their pixelated 2D avatars that they're going to put into pixelated metaverses.
yeah, nice.
So I'm hoping this goes down in the future, but this one just has a really, really solid organic community. The founders seem active, and there's a lot of just positivity around this one, in my opinion. But that one's a little, they kind of increased recently, so I wouldn't say they're undervalued at the moment. But
What?
actually, I'm sorry.
Whitelist. Sorry, Nate. Oh, was there another one you were just gonna say?
No, I was actually just going to reference that Notion page that you showed earlier, the on-chain
Yeah.
list, and it's been my goal to go through all of the fully on-chain projects, which lends to a lot of pixelated or very kind of very simplistic projects due to what we can store on chain. But I think that's quite interesting as well.
Yeah, nice. I think. Do you participate in a whitelist yourself? Like, do you try to get whitelisted on certain upcoming NFT launches, or
I don't
did you
really, to
do
be
that
honest.
last year? Or
No,
yeah,
the whitelist craze kind of hit crypto probably. What
yeah,
would you say, around like July, August?
yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah, and it grew from like Rome DAO, and was it Temple DAO and OHM and all those DeFi
yeah,
2.0 platforms, in my opinion. And then it kind of bled into NFT launches because the market was getting so saturated. NFT launches, there would be gas wars, and you'd have 5,000 people showing up to mint 10,000 NFTs or even more so sometimes, and you'd get gas wars. So, while I don't participate in whitelist too much myself, unless I just happen to be in the right place at the right time or just join the Discord and then I
yeah,
just forget to leave it.
yeah,
But I do think whitelists have a good mechanism to find your core users,
yeah,
and then also to mitigate from that potential minting wars if your project does blow up.
yeah, yeah.
Like
Well said.
Invisible Friends, great example. 282,000 followers. That's got to be botted, right?
Yeah, like the fervor for that has been one of the strongest like demand I've seen of any NFT project ever. And it's
Yeah,
again, a lot of that is driven by the whitelist. People doing everything they can to get on the whitelist, whether it's making YouTube videos, whether it's writing a blog post, whether it's doing a Twitter thread, all just in an effort to get on the whitelist. It's insane.
yeah. They got
Yeah.
219,000 followers in their Discord. So
Oh wow. Yeah.
I'm not one of these that will do the work to get on the whitelists.
Yeah. it's a time suck for sure. But if you
It
pick the
is.
right project, you can be again. I guess people like the reason it's such a craze is because people have had so much success in the past in being able to get there at day zero. So there is a reason.
Here's a collection where I would turn to a secondary market kind of sniper rather than be a minter because I could
Yeah,
see this minting for point 0.5 or 1 ETH
yeah,
and then I just wouldn't want to get disappointed for that.
yeah, yeah. I'm just quickly seeing one here. Is there not a way to calculate the odds of pulling a rare? I'm not sure if you're talking about a specific in general. I'm not sure if you're talking about a specific collection, but if you aren't, then just in general, yeah, it's really dependent on each individual collection. They have their different models of how they calculate the rarity, how many tiers of rarity there are. So it's
And
mostly just probabilistic.
yeah, and a lot of the collections I believe are generated upon mint. So until we
Mm,
actually, like say there was a mint in a couple of days, until all 2,000 people that go and mint and press the button mint, they actually haven't been generated yet. So it's unknown what the metadata is going to be.
mm,
But there is that awkward period between pressing the mint button and then revealing the actual image or the NFT. And during that little period, there's the ability for the metadata to exist on the back end and for certain people to get it. But if that happens, it's probably a bit of a mark of a bad collection if the metadata gets leaked. A
yes.
good collection by 2022 should be able to keep that wrapped up nicely based on best practices.
Yeah. Is there a list of good undervalued music NFTs? I haven't found one. If I do, I will share it in my video on Friday. Um,
Quick question, Matt, on music NFTs. Do you go by honest or like are there groups that are starting to emerge that
yeah.
you're like, great, I'm investing in this, I guess not band, but like this
Yeah.
collective of investors who are investing in one type of music NFT? Because I feel like it's to that question. It's like, how do you, are we just throwing dots at random music
Music.
artists?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think at the moment it is that. It's about seeing which musicians are really doing the work. And by doing the work, I'm more saying doing the work from a crypto community standpoint. Are they putting time into community, getting their name out there in the crypto space? Um, and so at the moment, it is on an individual basis. I have started to see. Oh man, I'm blanking on the name of it, but I did see the other day. It was basically two or three musicians that already, I think, had their own tokens. They are doing a collaborative um, project together, which itself has its own token,
Hmm.
which would probably, I would suspect, would have a greater chance at, succeeding. Oh, yeah. Well, you can argue it either way, but it would, I guess, being a group thing, it would probably get more coverage and more exposure. But that's just another way things are kind of, I guess it's all very experimental.
Yeah, because the expectation of wanting the musician to like ingrain themselves in the Web3 world and be like crypto native is a little bit too much in my opinion. Go let the musician make music. And
Yeah.
that's why I'm curious if we'll see, say, record labels evolve to where it's like, great, this artist went through that record label. They're the premier Web3 music record label.
Yeah,
Because,
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, then the music artist can focus on the music. So it doesn't sound like we're there yet.
Yeah, yeah. Now you're reading about actually like music label DAOs, music label NFTs. I definitely have seen some emerge and um well, it seems like ages ago, but it was just 2 weeks ago where I would have actually been able to answer you. But but you'll probably see it in my thing on yeah, on Friday. That is, yeah, what you just said is starting to occur where I think the musician will be able to spend more time actually creating, which is what you want to see.
Hmm.
Yeah, okay, cool. Okay, last one here. Sunday Polkadot, a really long time contributor to Collective Shift community. Good to see you in here. Um, okay, it's hard to get metrics on Solana NFTs, and they are spread across multiple marketplaces, as opposed to centralized on OpenSea. What are your thoughts about their future value due to this limitation? What are your thoughts about what what future value? I was just worded a bit differently. I think they're talking about the value proposition of Solana NFT marketplaces, where I think at the moment Magic Eden is the biggest one. But I think, yeah, it's the same thing on Ethereum though. Like there's so many, there's probably like over a dozen marketplaces on deployed on the Ethereum blockchain. And they all have their niches like looks rare. I mean, not, yeah, looks rare, and then super rare, which is all one-on-ones. Maker's Place, and now there's like even like Flamingo DAO released a marketplace the other day. So it's, you could almost argue it the same way for Solana. I think Magic Eden will probably be the biggest one. Or, and then there's I think Soul Sea was another one. So you'll probably just have
SolSea,
the same
Solana
thing.
Art, and Digitalize.
Yeah, where they'll still be able to capture, I think, aggregate all of them in an effort to value the whole market of NFTs, which I think at the moment is still quite primitive, attempting to do that. But I reckon we'll get there eventually. It's inevitable given just how much this market's blown up.
And it seems like of non-Ethereum blockchains, Solana has done the best job of creating an NFT ecosystem.
Yeah,
And it seems like they're attracting developers to go build over there rather than build on an Ethereum virtual machine compatible blockchain.
yeah. So, okay, Solana NFTs in general, they're talking about. Yeah, I think what Nathan just said. I think there will be a viable NFT ecosystem on Solana, and there already arguably is, and I think that will continue to grow with the expansion of NFTs. I think I know that the volatility of NFTs on Solana is like relative to Ethereum is extreme because of the low transaction fees. I know that the day-to-day volatility is just like wild. So it's like a trader's and a flipper's paradise on Solana NFTs. That's what I've heard a lot. But I think definitely there will be long-term value will accrue to Solana-based NFTs, because I do think Solana will be around for several years, decade plus.
Yeah, and we're seeing the development of DeFi applications for NFT collections on Solana, just like Ethereum. So we're seeing the start of like lending and borrowing markets for rare Solana NFTs, where it might take a little longer for them to build out because there's not as many rare assets on Solana, NFT assets, but it's going in that direction that people are already building out the DeFi applications needed to connect to NFTs.
Yeah, yeah, well said. Alrighty, we can just like that, an hour has gone past.
That was a fast hour.
Yeah, it was. I don't even know how to end this video, to be honest. On
I can end
oh,
on
you got it,
myself.
Ben. Oh, he's
Yeah.
still there. Good stuff. All right, terrific. Thank you everyone for tuning in to what was this first one. Any follow-up questions on NFTs, hit us up in Discord or in the Facebook community, and we're always happy to talk NFTs in the community. That's what we're here for. And we love everyone's insights that they do bring to the NFT space, because there has been many in the group who have been super on top of things when it comes to NFT investing. So the more knowledge sharing there is, the more everyone can learn faster, and that's what we're all here to do. So thanks everyone for tuning in live. This will be up on the member platform soon. If you've just jumped in late and you've caught the end of it, it'll be on the member platform, within probably 6 to 8 hours or so. Enjoy the rest of your week, everyone, and thank you all. I'll see you later.
Yeah, cheers, everyone.